to stand before my teachers who are all here. It's a really, really big honor, and I thank you for the invite. My session is a half an hour, and it is titled Innovations in Postgraduate Training. I wish to acknowledge a few people who I contacted after getting this assignment. People who are eminent doctors in different specialties all over the world: Australia, England, America, Kerala, rural India. All of these people were personally interviewed by me, and I've written notes based on all of these people. And there is another set of doctors who I contacted to prepare for this talk, because when I prepare, I do pretty seriously, and I want to be sure that it's a balanced perspective that I'm giving. How society reacts to a new idea, so said J.P.S. Haldane. Whenever a new idea is proposed, there are 4 stages. 1, people say it is worthless nonsense. And the next stage is they'll say, this is an interesting but perverse point of view. And then they say, this is true, but quite unimportant. And the 4th stage is, I always said so. So these are the 4 stages. I'm sure when we implement newer changes in postgraduate medical training, all of the eminent faculty will face these 4 stages of acceptance from society. I'll start with introducing a scene from a movie called Vadakkan Selfie. It's a Malayalam film. There's a conversation between Vijayaraghavan, which is the father, and the son, who is Nivin Pauly. Now, these people are from a lower middle class family, just like mine. Father and son are going to a market to buy vegetables. Now, Nivin Pauly, the hero, is a failure in engineering college. He's got so many failures, and he hasn't really made it through college. So he's back at home trying to clear the exams. So they go to the market. After they go to the market, the father says, son, you don't even know how to buy tomatoes. Guess what the son says? It is not part of the engineering college syllabus. Now, my talk is based on this. So when I went out after training in CMC Vellore, there are some things that I felt being out of the college, and I've traveled all over the world, lived all over the world. And what I'm going to present here is this Nivin Pauly perspective. What are the things that I wish I learned, or I wish I was taught, or I wish I was introduced to face the world outside? So these are the things I learned after. So what I heard here was the perspective from within the institution. And what I'm going to present to you with my friend Thambu's and Punitha's permission is what I learned after. It's like the Maruti 800 that's coming back after 20 years, and I'm showing you, hey, this is what the car did. Okay. I'll start with the fundamental question. Number 1, why did I become a doctor? This is a question that all of us need to really ask ourselves periodically, I believe. Because what I have seen is, as people progress in life, I have seen people forget why they took up medicine. I'm a proud product of this college, and I was selected because of what I felt I should do as a doctor, not because I did well in the exams. Those were the days of interviews and group observers and group tasks, and you sit with your professor and they observe you and so on. I've seen people forget. For example, let's say somebody starts a small clinic in a rural place. The clinic is opened to provide good service to the community. A lot of people come, the clinic gets busy, so we hire a few new doctors. Now you've got to pay these doctors. They don't come for free. So you hike the charges. You hike the charges just a little bit and you keep it running. It flourishes. The doctors are good, so you expand it. You buy some land, you expand it into a hospital. You hire an administrator because you can't handle the pressure. Administrator says, look doc, you can't work with these charges anymore. You increase the charges. And then somebody comes and buys you out and you become an employee. See, perspectives change. You see what I'm getting at? The profit mindset comes in. After some time, you call it a business venture. What was originally a service endeavor becomes a pure business endeavor, because the person who bought the hospital is not interested in community service. So it's very important as a doctor that we stand firm with our conviction. This is the reason why I took up medicine. And they say we lie loudest when we lie to ourselves, and that's a well-known fact. I know this for a fact because when we look at criminals and people who are murderers, they all believe that they did the right thing. People who take bribes, they always have an excuse. They all believe they're doing the right thing. And we are no exception. We can sometimes stray from our path and still be convinced that we're doing the right thing. And what is my solution to that is what I'm getting at. My solution is what I call a mission statement. When I returned to India in 2009, I created a mission statement. This is my handwriting. Some of you, I think Dr. Anand Zachariah knows that, and Maya knows that. So this is my handwriting. I wrote this for my department that I founded in 2009. It's almost 10 years ago. Things like this: we will safeguard the privacy of our patients' information, treat them with the privacy and dignity when they undergo endoscopic procedures here. It's very specific. And a mission statement can be very personal and very specific. If there are 100 people in this room, each of us will have a different mission statement. And it can be a personal statement, it can be a department statement, it can be a statement for life or a statement for the family. But if we write it down, it is so powerful. We periodically look at it and we'll find that we may have deviated a little bit. We can always pull ourselves back. I'll give you one example of one of our mission statements. One is I've installed what is called a zero delay for paperwork for patients. What does that mean? Any patient that requires any paperwork done gets zero delay. It's easy to enforce and actually works. It may sound impossible, but actually works. Another example of a mission statement is no patient shall lose sleep from pain. And this I learned from Dr. Sitaram during my surgery training in CMC. It was his policy: no patient should lose sleep because of pain, because many of the post-operative patients would have pain. So they had very efficient pain control machinery. It's a very simple but powerful mission statement. I'll go on to the second point. Having spent 23 years outside since MD General Medicine, I've come to the conclusion that communication is everything. Professor Lilly-John elegantly described the role of communication. And I'm the state convener for communication skills for Kerala State IMA for the last 5 years. I've been taking classes all over the state, and even I've given a class at Scudder at Senate Hall 2 years ago. What I say, especially to the juniors, is what we see in the institution is the patient coming in to see us. But we must think for a moment from their shoes. They are seeing us, and we are providing a memory. We are providing a memory from our routine work, but for them, it is a single incident. Those few seconds of interaction will create a lasting memory. And this is particularly important when the situation is grim, when somebody is not doing well. Every word we speak, our facial expression, our gesture, a simple pat on the shoulder, these things matter greatly. I'm not claiming that science does not matter, but if we do not make them feel good, we fail in our duty as a doctor. So we provide memory. Remember, when every time we see a patient, we are creating a memory for them. We can make it as pleasant as possible without hiding the truth. We can still say the same thing in a better format. So these are some of the pictures from Cochin Medical College. And communication, very briefly, can be verbal, can be visual, non-verbal, based on body language. And a lot of communication is based on listening. And listening is a full module in itself. There are so many types of listening. And then there is documentation, which is becoming increasingly relevant form of communication. And then I'll come to cultural variations. I believe communication skills can be taught and measured. And this is, that's me moderating a session at the State Gastroenterology Conference. Two eminent gastroenterologists are role-playing. This is role-playing. Now that's Dr. Geeta, pediatric gastroenterologist, and Dr. Ramya. They are playing the scene where a bad news is being broken. And this is Dr. Nandakumar and Dr. Sujith, again one of the most well-known doctors in Kerala, again stepping down to show a role play, how to deal with a patient complaining about another doctor. Do you really support the patient? How do you deal with that? So there are so many situations like this that we can actually play out. I'm sure Soumya has done a lot of communication seminars here. I've heard mentions about that. In all medical colleges, I believe this is important to do. Number 3, connection with the community. As was mentioned in the introduction, I do teach in schools as a voluntary system. I teach in schools ranging from 6th grade to 12th grade, and I believe that's where I can actually influence their healthcare choices, not when they become alcoholics. My tasks primarily are to do with that, with the prevention of teenage alcoholism, and this is the catchphrase we use: catch them young or catch them early. I believe that all doctors must connect with the community. And I believe that all doctors must read Anton Chekhov, who was a 19th century Russian doctor, and he was also a writer who died in his 30s out of tuberculosis, and he had written numerous short stories and plays. And this narrative style of medicine is now being revived in Western medical schools. Rather than fact-based medicines, people are thinking about narrative-based medicines, how to listen carefully to the fine nuances of the history, rather than check all the boxes. Number 4, I have seen circumstances change, because we are in here in CMC, especially I'm talking to the postgraduates and to the training faculty. You could change from private practice, you could become a public servant, you could take up a teaching job, or you could be taken into research. You may end up in a high-risk job. High risk can be anything related to high risk, low risk. You can be on your own, you can be part of a group, you can be in a subspecialty, you may become a family person, and you may go to another state or another country. So we have to be prepared in our training to face all of these challenges. It is not as though we're going to continue exactly what we did in the outside world. Building a team is one of the big challenges. I was having a conversation outside. Building a team in India has certain challenges. In CMC, we are blessed with excellent staff who are completely honest and ethical and accountable. That is not the case with the world outside. It is extremely difficult, in especially the private sector, to find accountable, honest staff. And I can say from experience, if you work in a small setting and you have an assistant who's a donkey, no matter how smart you are as a physician, your work will have the stamp of a donkey on it. And mark my words, be very careful when you hire people who work for you, because they reflect your values, your standards. And team building is a skill that must be learned early, because we can't, as a doctor, afford to make mistakes and then learn from them. This may sound a little offensive, but dealing with stupid people is a skill that needs to be learned. Now, I'm not even hinting that stupidity is a hallmark of any nation or state. It is universal. And the 5 laws of stupidity is something I'll invite you to learn. Just Google the laws of stupidity, and these were written by a professor of economics at the University of California, Berkeley campus. His name is Carlos Cipolla. In CMC, again, we are always dealing with smart people, almost invariably. So we go to the outside world assuming that everybody else is smart. No, that is not the case. Always and inevitably, everyone underestimates the number of stupid individuals in circulation. The probability of a certain person to be stupid is independent of other characteristics of that person. So you could have your teacher, your colleague, your professor, your parent, maybe no offense meant. Stupidity is independent. You could have a PhD who's absolutely stupid. Third law is most important, I've highlighted it. A stupid person is a person who causes losses to another person or to a group of persons while himself deriving no gain or even possibly incurring losses. And if you look carefully around you, in the world around you, you'll see them. And non-stupid people always underestimate the damaging capacity of a stupid individual. And lastly, a stupid person is more dangerous than a bandit, because a bandit will only rob you once, but a stupid person will continually erode your quality and affect your life. So these are the 5 laws, and to face the world outside, we need to understand these 5 laws and learn the solutions ahead of time. We need to know different languages. In Vellore, we learn Tamil, Hindi, and Telugu. We need to know more. Whether you work in Mumbai, Denmark, rural Kerala, rural Orissa, urban areas, United States or Australia, we are faced with people from different ethnicities, different belief systems, different languages, different slangs. So we can't sit and profess Harrison to those people because they won't understand. We need to connect with different cultures, and that's an art. Again, quoting Professor Religion. We'll switch topics to something more grim. Are we aware that doctors are dying early? And we must be aware that while we take care of the health of other people, we must take care of our own health. There are some studies, these are not very well conducted studies, but India does not have many well conducted studies, but among those studies there are 2 that stand out. Pune IMA reported Indian doctors' lifespan below 60, and a study from the Social Security Scheme of Kerala's own IMA quoted the mean age of death at 62, where Kerala's life expectancy stands 75 plus. Our own health could suffer. It could be occupational. See, I do endoscopy all day and I'm already having a shoulder impingement. Lack of self-care, and we all are exposed to the risk of being sedentary. They say sitting is the new smoking. That's a catchphrase we use when we go to IT companies and teach the computer professionals. We are exposed to the same problem. Sitting is the new smoking. Accidents have happened and have taken lives of doctors. Doctors regularly die in accidents, especially late night. 2 weeks ago, a young doctor who was just an intern died in a car crash near Alabama. Incidental illnesses do happen. Those things we can't prevent. Dr. Religion will remember, I came down with pulmonary tuberculosis during my MD medicine. But these are illnesses that are perhaps occupational, and she generously sent me home, and I always remember her kindness. Especially I'll have to relate one particular incident of kindness. MD medicine doing rounds, madam, I was on call, and after a very, very busy night, I was doing the pickup rounds with her in one of the O3 East floors, and she looked at me and said, Rajeev, have you slept? I said, no ma'am. She said, go right now, take the day off, go and sleep and come back tomorrow morning. So those are acts of kindness that actually help us become better human beings. So again, our health could suffer, sleep deprivation, a major problem. And then mental illness, physician burnout is a big problem, physician suicides, resident suicides, a big problem in the United States. I was talking with Shirin Gergen, again one of our best outgoing students, Mitran's wife. I was talking with her about this topic, and she said resident suicides in her own hospital. People have killed themselves. And in my own town, a renowned psychiatrist jumped off the 6th floor of his apartment to kill himself. So it is very much here. We have to assess ourselves, we have to look out for our colleagues, we have to look for stress, and we have to learn to look after ourselves as well. Look for addictions. Kerala, the capital of drinking. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of doctors drink heavily. Sexual harassment occurs, especially during postgraduate training. It is known to occur even in the finest places, and we must be well aware what to do about it. And patient violence is one of the big areas. And if you look up some of my writings, in fact, you mentioned about my articles. I've written around 40 plus articles on health-related topics, and my most recent work is on self-defense. If somebody comes and attacks us, Do we know how to defend ourselves? I know, because I did the topic. How many know how to defend themselves if somebody comes and hits you? Show of hands. Nobody's confident. Well, I'm confident because I know what to do. So knowing what to do in certain situations is important, and it is not rocket science. It can be taught. So I'll encourage you to read up Rajeev Jayadevan. Just put a keyword, self-defense. You'll see my article. It's pretty long and it's been well received. So eventually I'm going to bring it out as a book. It's not about hitting people. It's about being smart, being mentally very alert. So those are newer areas that we need to look at, we need to explore. I'm throwing these threads at you so that when the faculty and senior people sit in forums, they'll keep these in mind as potential areas of training. And I'm going to switch to a very provocative topic here, knowing how to handle money. And again, I'm focusing on the people sitting in the back half of the audience. Money, there's nobody who will deny that money isn't important. Unless you're born into a rich family, which most of us are not, we need to know how to handle money. And the earlier we know how to handle money, the better it is. And again, you can Google Rajeev Jayadevan money or Rajeev Jayadevan rich and you'll find it. And just for a disclaimer, I don't have a house. I live with my parents and I drive a 10-year-old Swift. In case you're thinking of gastroenterologist driving a BMW, no, that's not me. I drive an old broken down car. Okay. So knowing how to handle money. How many are aware, again, the question to the PGs, how many are aware of this phenomenon, the power of compounding? Show of hands, how many have heard of it? One person, yeah, good, all right, that's better than zero. I'll tell you the story of Sachin Tendulkar, and can you name this person? Robin Singh, yes, Robin Singh, he was a hero, yeah. Now let's take a hypothetical example of Sachin and Robin Singh. Sachin started playing at age 17, darling of India. I stopped watching cricket the moment he retired. Yeah, I'm one of those crazy ones. Yeah. Robin Singh started at age 27. And let's look at their investments. Let's hypothetically say Sachin invested 1 lakh rupees a year. Invested. Okay, I'll say invested very briefly. Saving is keeping money on the side, and investing is making that money work for you. Just to make it clear. So Sachin invested 1 lakh a year. Robin invested 1 lakh a year. Sachin started at age 17, Robin started at age 27, and both interest just used a hypothetical rate of 8%. Just to revise, look at those numbers. Sachin invested for 10 years, 17 to 27. Robin Singh was more, let's say, ambitious. He invested for 30 years. He started at 27, and they both retired at age 57, let's just say. So here's Sachin's story. 1 lakh a year for 10 years, and then Sachin did nothing. For the next 30 years, Sachin did nothing. 27 till 57, he just put his feet up and watched the numbers. Robin, on the other hand, he continued to work, he continued to invest every year for 30 years. Is everybody with me? That's some math here. Sachin on the left, Robin on the right. 1 lakh per year for 10 years, 1 lakh per year for 30 years. Can anyone guess the results? How much did Robin Singh make? His investments grew to 1.2 crore. He put in 30 lakhs of actual earnings, and that money grew to 1.2 crore. Can anyone guess how much Sachin made? With just 10 lakhs of investments, his investments grew 16 times. It multiplied 16 times, where Robin Singh's money multiplied just 4 times. What matters is how you make your money multiple. It's not about how much money you earn, it's about the multiplication factor, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of compounding. It's the most powerful principle of money. It's not about mutual funds or fixed deposits or gold. It is plain and simple math. It is second grade arithmetic. It's not even third grade. It is second standard you learn this. And the power of compounding is best explained by this graph. The slice out is the money I put in, the remaining is interest. So if it is 1.5 crore in interest for a 10 lakh investment, that is Sachin's earnings when he retires at 57. The trick was, he started early. So if you start investing 1 year earlier, you're doing yourself and your family a favor. So don't be like me and wait until you're 45 to start investing. I never knew this principle till I was around 45. Yeah. So I'm telling you, some of you are still in your 20s and 30s, keep that in mind. Even if it's a small amount, put it away. I'll give you one sum. 4,000 rupees a month you invest for 30 years, it'll fetch you 1.4 crores. Just 4,000 rupees a month. So you don't have to think that you got to be earning lakhs to be able to do it. Now, I have a module. I'm speaking on this topic at the national conference next week. You're welcome to attend the national conference, the gastroenterology conference. So I'm presenting a full module of this. Einstein, in fact, called it the 8th wonder of the world. Compounding, the power of compounding is called the 8th wonder of the world. If there's nothing else you remember about money, remember the Sachin and Robin Singh story, the power of compounding. And I'll switch to another area of concern. What I have observed, is my observation, many topics are popular because of pharma industry interest. You go to, again, I'm not talking about top institutions like St. John's or JIPMER or CMC. I'm talking about the regular doctor out there in the community. What he or she is exposed to, they go to the same lectures, the same topics are discussed year after year. Why? Because of industry. Yeah, industry is keen on promoting certain keywords. They scare people about cholesterol, they sell their statins, and they make you believe as though statin is the only way to prevent heart disease. They don't care if you're sedentary, you sit for 16 hours a day, they don't care. So my message again to postgraduate educators and for students is keep eyes open. There are more topics out there than are in the textbooks, and I'll give you a couple of examples. I work in all of these areas. Palliative care, everybody dies, and India has the worst palliative care network in the entire world. We are ranked close to 100, and only exception being Kerala with a better network. Noise pollution is killing the country, and nobody is doing anything about it, or very little about it. I work in all of these fields. Road accidents kill about 4,200 people in Kerala a year. That is, 12 people die every day in Kerala on a road accident. Young people, more than the number of cancer. Violence against doctors. You go through the internet, you'll find the index of recorded violence. It's huge. These are problems, again, I'm suggesting these can be included in our teaching. Another topic that is ignored in the curriculum is death. Everybody's born, they live a life, but everybody dies. But death is ignored. We don't treat death. We don't make death comfortable. Forget that. We don't even know how to write a death certificate. So everything related to death gets ignored. So I'll welcome you to look up a couple of things I've written about. One is, who said death has to be unpleasant? That's what we can do to make our own death better and our patients' lives deaths better. Another one on what to do when we visit a bereaved family. So those are some of the areas I got into again during my work with society. This is a book that I purchased, again part of my palliative care training, handbook of certificate course in essentials in palliative care. This book taught me a lot more about how to be confident and how to be compassionate while actually dealing with the dying patients. That's an area, again, that can be augmented in our postgraduate training. So the topic of road accidents is my pet area, which I'll skip because it's such a vast area, but I'll just say very briefly that road accidents are not a fault of the system as is conveniently thought. It is 90% of it is human error, and it is basic ignorance of physics, basic math and biology. And if you do a root cause analysis or an RCA, you'll find the real underlying cause is lack of time management. People use the road to make up time. If you see in India, they say it's the only country where everybody is hurrying on the road, yet nobody's on time. Why is that? That's because everybody starts late and they want to make up time on the road, and that's the root cause of many of the road accidents that happen. Again, for a bigger module, you can look up my name and you'll see my lectures on it. Very important to be part of an association. Again, this came late to me in my career. As doctors, we need to stand together as a group, not only in the institution, but as a fraternity. We need to be familiar with the concept of collective bargaining and political lobbying, because laws are changing, and I'm sure CMC is no exception, because CMC is affected deeply by the recent judgments. Partnering with many different social organizations, you'll want to either be a member or work with some of these agencies so you can get a better feel of the community, be better connected with the community. How much time do I have left?
Maybe another 3 or 4.
I've got 4 minutes left. So these are some pictures of being connected with the community. And some training on how to speak in a public forum. Even things like how far to keep your mouth away from the mic. There is a science to it, and it has to come subconsciously. As you look to the side, the distance has to remain constant, so the audience gets an audio that is not interrupted by doing this or even doing that. I can't imagine a number of professors I've heard do that on the mic. And why would you do that on a mic? So there are a lot of these fine things that can be learned. And did you do that for me? Okay. All right. Non-technical language training. Doctors speak in very complex jargon. We need to de-jargonize our speech and speak in absolute plain language, preferably local regional language, preferably write in the local newspaper in local regional language. How to answer questions. Sometimes you're put in a situation and somebody stands up and asks you a question on stage. Doctor, I have this strange sensation in my leg. What do you say? You can't ask him to come to my clinic. You have to give him an answer on the spot. And it's important to be trained to do that. I think it'll be a fun activity during postgraduate medical education. You can just put your colleague here on stage and ask him difficult questions from the public, and then make him or her answer questions. It's again a useful skill. I had to train myself to do that because I'm on public stage all the time, and I often answer questions on live television, and it's a skill that you build up over a period of time, and I think you can start in MD medicine. I'll finish with what is called the Wheel of Life, a concept introduced to me by Dr. H. Ramesh, whom Dr. V.I. Mathan knows as one of the most prominent surgeons in South India. Dr. H. Ramesh taught me this. He said there's something called the Wheel of Life. The Wheel of Life has several spokes. So here, if you can't read the print, this spoke is contribution to society, fun and recreation, personal development, romance. Yes, we need to set time apart for romance, family and friends, health, our own health, set a time apart for our profession, and we need to make sure that these spokes of the wheel are more or less equal, and only when the spokes are equal will the wheel of life run smoothly. It's one of the most powerful, again a simple concept, but extremely powerful principle that I learned from my seniors, again by being connected to the community. So I'll invite you to improve the connect with society, improve the soft skills, improve the learning, the speaking, the writing skills, not just for research and for learning purposes, but to be a good doctor for the society. I'm skipping the sections on research in the interest of time. Maybe we can go on to that in the afternoon. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to invite the